There comes a moment in every life when you look in the mirror and realize, this isn't the life I promised myself. You remember the fire you once had, the dream that kept you awake at night, the vision of who you were supposed to become. Then life happened. Disappointments stacked up, excuses crept in. People told you to be realistic, and somewhere along the way, you settled, you traded the life you wanted for the life you thought you had to live. And deep down, you know it, you feel it every single day. But let me tell you something right now, that promise you once made to yourself is not dead. It's waiting for you to reclaim it. It's buried under layers of fear, doubt, and distractions. It's still there, alive, burning, demanding to be honored. And if you're here listening today, it's not an accident. You were meant to be reminded. You were meant to be shaken awake. Because the truth is, you only get one shot at this life. The greatest pain you'll ever feel is not failure, it's regret. So if you're ready to stop betraying yourself, if you're ready to stop breaking the promises you once whispered in the dark when nobody was watching, if you're ready to rise, to reclaim, and to fight for the life you were born to live, then stay with me. Because what I'm about to share with you will not just inspire you, it will demand something from you. And if you let it, will remind you of the unstoppable force that's been inside you all along. When I talk about the life you promised yourself, I'm not talking about some shallow wish or a random idea that floated through your mind one night. I'm talking about the vow you once made deep in your soul, the quiet decision you whispered to yourself when no one else was around. Maybe you made it as a kid when you looked at the world and thought, I will not live the way they're living. We'll create something different, something bigger, something that matters. Maybe you made it during one of your darkest hours when you swore you would never again let yourself be broken, that you would rise no matter what it took. Maybe it was during a moment of pure inspiration when for a split second you saw a vision of who you could truly become and you promised yourself you would never settle for less than that. That moment, that promise is sacred. It's more powerful than any contract you'll ever sign because it's a contract with yourself. And here's the truth. Most people break that contract. They treat their word to themselves as cheap, something they can bend or ignore when life gets tough. They keep their promises to others but abandon the one that matters most, the one to themselves. And that's why they end up living small, frustrated, and unfulfilled. They wake up one day realizing they have the job, the house, maybe even the family. They lost themselves. They forgot the life they once swore they'd create. And that right there is why so many people feel empty, even when they look successful from the outside. Let me ask you something. What happens if you actually decide that your word to yourself is unbreakable? What happens if you treat that promise not like a wish, but like a law of your being? Think about it. You'd no longer need motivation. You wouldn't need someone to push you or hype you up or convince you to move. You'd be pulled by the force of your own decision because you wouldn't be willing to betray yourself anymore. That's power. That's alignment. That's what separates the few who live extraordinary lives from the masses who just exist. I want you to remember that the promise you made wasn't random. You didn't choose it out of thin air. That vision of your future self, it came from somewhere real. It was a glimpse of what you're actually capable of, a calling planted deep inside you. And if you ignore it, if you turn your back on it, you'll always feel that gnawing sense of dissatisfaction, that whisper that says you were meant for more. And no amount of distractions, no amount of scrolling, no amount of busy work will silence that voice. You can bury it under years of mediocrity. It will always be there. Some of you right now are living with that pain. You wake up and go through the motions, but something inside you is restless. You feel like you're cheating yourself, and you are. You are betraying the most important agreement of your life. And here's the painful truth. Every time you break that promise, every time you say tomorrow instead of today, every time you choose comfort over commitment, you weaken your own trust in yourself. When you can't trust yourself, you lose power, you lose confidence, you lose certainty, you start second guessing, doubting, shrinking, and you call it being realistic. No, it's not realism, it's resignation. It doesn't have to stay that way because at any moment you can decide to recommit. You can decide that from this moment on, your word to yourself is final, that the life you promised yourself will no longer be a someday fantasy. It will be a now decision, that no matter how far you've drifted, no matter how many times you've quit, no matter how long you've ignored it, you can come back to it and breathe life into it again. And the beauty is the moment you honor that promise, everything changes. Your energy changes. Your focus sharpens. Suddenly you don't tolerate the same excuses. You don't accept the same limits. You don't surround yourself with the same small-minded conversations. Why? Because you're not negotiating with your dream anymore. You're living in alignment with it. Think about when you've kept promises to others, maybe to a friend, to your family, to your children. Didn't you feel stronger when you came through for them? Didn't you feel proud, confident, alive? Multiply that by 10 when you keep your promises to yourself. That's where real self-esteem is born. Not from affirmations, not from pretending you're confident, but from knowing that when you say you're going to do something, you do it. That's unshakable power. The truth is, life will test you. It will test your commitment to that promise. It will throw obstacles, temptations, failures, and fears at you. But those tests aren't there to break you. They're there to see if you're serious. They're there to strengthen you so you become the person who can actually live the life you've promised yourself. Because let's be real, that life you dream of, it requires a stronger version of you than the one you are right now. The only way to grow into that version is to be tested, challenged, stretched. So don't resent the struggle. Don't run from it. Embrace it as the fire that forges you into who you must become. And if you're sitting there thinking, I've broken that promise too many times, I don't trust myself anymore, then let me tell you this trust is rebuilt through action. Not words, not intention, not wish in action. Start small if you must, but start now. Keep a single promise today. Keep another tomorrow. Stack them one by one until your brain and body believe you again. Until the voice inside you says, yes, I can trust this person. Yes, they keep their word. Yes, they will not betray me again. That's how you rise. Because the life you promised yourself is not negotiable. It's not optional. It's the standard. And the moment you decide that your word to yourself is sacred, everything in your life begins to shift. Opportunities align, relationships evolve, your energy surges, your decisions become clearer. Not because the world magically changes, but because you finally changed. You finally remembered who you said you would be. And here's the part I want you to never forget. You walk away from that promise. If you let life distract you, if you let fear control you, you'll always live haunted by the version of yourself you could have been. But if you rise, if you fight, if you hold yourself to the vow you once made, wake up every day with a fire in your soul knowing, I am living the life I promised myself. And nothing feels better than that. So make the decision now. Your word to yourself is unbreakable. Excuses are the most expensive lies you will ever tell yourself. They cost you time, they cost you energy, and they cost you the life you promised yourself. What's dangerous is they sound so reasonable. They whisper, I'll start tomorrow. I'm too tired today. I don't have enough resources yet. The timing isn't right. They wrap themselves in logic, but underneath, nothing but fear dressed up in words. Every excuse you buy pushes your dream further away, and the scariest part is you don't even notice how much they steal from you until years have passed and you're left staring at a life you never wanted. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself you'll start when it's perfect? You'll commit when you feel ready. You'll push when you have more energy, more money, more support. And then what happens? The moment never comes. Perfection never shows up. Readiness never knocks at your door. Instead, time passes and you look back realizing all the moments you delayed were the very moments that could have changed your life. The world doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards action. Every day you delay, you're choosing to betray that promise you once made. Excuses don't just delay your dream, they rewrite your identity. Every time you let yourself off the hook, you're programming your brain to believe you're the type of person who doesn't follow through. And once that identity takes root, it gets harder and harder to break free because your brain doesn't argue with the story you tell it. If you tell yourself you're someone who can't stay consistent, guess what? You'll find proof everywhere. But if you tell yourself you're someone who refuses to make excuses, someone who finds a way no matter what, your brain will find evidence for that too. Excuses are nothing but stories, and you get to decide whether you'll be enslaved by them or empowered by the truth. And I know why we make excuses. At the root, it's not laziness, it's fear. Fear of failure, of judgment, fear of stepping into the unknown. It's easier to convince yourself that now isn't the right time than to face the possibility of falling short. But here's the catch. By protecting yourself from failure, you're guaranteeing regret. Regret is 1,000 times heavier than failure. Failure teaches you, strengthens you, reshapes you. Regret poisons you, eats at you, stays with you. You can recover from failure, but you cannot recover from the life you never lived. You cut off excuses, you cut off escape routes. That's what real discipline is. It's not about being perfect. It's about eliminating the option to quit. Imagine if you treated your dream like oxygen. If I held your head underwater, you wouldn't be thinking about whether you felt ready to breathe or whether the timing was right or whether you had the right strategy. No, you'd fight with everything you had because survival would be the only option. That's the level of necessity you must attach to your vision. Until you decide there is no plan B, no back door, no exit, you will always give yourself room to slip away. Think about the people who have created extraordinary lives. They weren't the smartest. They weren't the most resourced. They weren't handed the perfect timing. The difference is they refused to buy into their own excuses. They acted when it was messy. They showed up when they were scared. They stayed consistent when it wasn't convenient. They treated their promise as non-negotiable. That's what separates the ones who live the life they imagine from the ones who die with their music still inside them. I want you to really get this. Every excuse you make is an agreement to stay the same. It's permission to remain small. It's you saying, I choose my comfort over my calling. And comfort feels good in the moment, but it destroys you in the long run. Discipline, on the other hand, feels heavy at first, but it creates freedom. Freedom to wake up proud of yourself. Freedom to look in the mirror and know you're not betraying your potential. Freedom to actually live the life you once dreamed of instead of just fantasizing about it. The question isn't whether you can build discipline. The question is whether you're willing to stop negotiating with your excuses because you already know what to do. You've known for years. The strategy isn't the problem. It's the internal negotiation that kills you. You let your feelings decide for you instead of your standards. But feelings are fleeting, standards are permanent. If you decide, I don't do excuses, period, then it doesn't matter if you feel tired, motivated, uninspired. You act anyway because your word to yourself isn't up for debate. There's an old saying, if you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. That's what excuses are. They're arguments for why you should stay limited. The world doesn't take pity on your excuses. It doesn't hand you results because you had a good reason for quitting. Life only responds to results, to effort, to persistence. The scoreboard doesn't care about your story. It only cares whether you showed up and did the work. And here's the truth. If you're tired of the cycle of starting and stopping, if you're sick of letting yourself down, then it's time to declare war on your excuses. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Because every time you silence an excuse, you strengthen your willpower. Every time you choose action over avoidance, you build momentum. And momentum is the antidote to procrastination. The more you move, the more you want to keep moving. You delay, the heavier the weight becomes until it crushes you. So ask yourself right now, what excuse have you been hiding behind? What story have you been selling yourself to justify staying where you are? And then ask yourself, is this excuse worth my dream? Is it worth the life I promised myself? If the answer is no, then it's time to cut it off. Burn the bridges. Remove the option to turn back. Declare that your dream is no longer a preference. It's a must. Because at the end of the day, life will not give you what you're willing to excuse yourself out of. It will only give you what you're willing to demand of yourself. Excuses are the chains. Discipline is the key. The moment you stop tolerating your own stories, the moment you stop making room for delay, the moment you cut off everything except the path to your vision, you step into a power most people will never know. And when you live that way, there is no more waiting, no more hoping, no more someday. There's only now. And in that now, you become unstoppable. Pain is one of the greatest gifts you will ever receive, but only if you decide to use it. Most people run from it, numb it, deny it. They think pain means something is wrong when in reality, pain is feedback. It's life telling you something has to change. It's life saying you're built for more than this. And if you look back at your own journey, the moments that shaped you the most weren't the easy ones. They weren't the comfortable times. They were the moments when you were on your knees, when you were broken. Everything felt like it was falling apart and you had to decide whether to stay down or rise up. Think about it. When have you grown the most? Was it when everything went your way, when life was smooth and simple? Or was it when you were challenged? You were hurt when you had to claw your way back from disappointment. You don't grow in the sunshine, you grow in the storm. You don't discover your strength when it's easy, you discover it when it's hard. Pain is not your enemy, it's your greatest ally because it reveals who you really are. The problem is too many people waste their pain. They let it turn them bitter instead of better. They use it as an excuse to stop instead of fuel to move forward. They say, I went through this, so I can't. No, it's I went through this, so I must. The very thing you thought was sent to destroy, you can become the very thing that defines your power. But you have to make that choice. You can't control whether or not life gives you pain. You can only control what you do with it. There are people in this room right now carrying scars that no one else can see. Scars from betrayal, from loss, from failure, from being told they weren't enough. And for some of you, those scars have become your cage. You've built an identity around them. You tell yourself the story that because you were hurt, because you failed, because you were abandoned, you can't rise. Let me remind you, your scars are not chains. They are reminders that you survived. They are proof that you're stronger than what tried to break you. They are the evidence that you're still here, breathing, fighting, capable of more than you even realize. And I'll tell you something most people won't admit. Pain is the price of admission to a meaningful life. If you want love, you risk heartbreak. If you want success, you risk failure. If you want growth, you risk discomfort. There is no breakthrough without breakdown. There is no strength without struggle. The people who achieve the life they promised themselves aren't the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who transform it. They turn heartbreak into hunger, rejection into resilience, doubt into determination. They don't ask, why me? They ask, what now? I remember talking to someone once who told me they were angry at life because of everything they'd gone through. They felt like it was unfair, like they had been given too much pain to carry. And I looked at them and said, maybe you were given that pain because you were strong enough to handle it. Maybe the very weight you've been resenting is the thing that's building the muscles you're going to need for the life you want. See? The pain you're carrying is not random, shaping you in the person who can handle the promise you made yourself. If you think about it, every champion, every leader, every great human being who's ever made an impact has a story of pain behind their strength. They didn't arrive at greatness because it was easy. They got there because life knocked them down and they refused to stay there. They built resilience, and resilience isn't built in comfort. It's built in fire. If you want to live the life you promised yourself, you've got to be willing to go through your own fire. But here's the key. You can't just go through pain. You've got to grow through it. Going through it means you endure it and hope it ends. Through it means you extract the lesson, you take the strength, you let it sharpen you. If you're going to suffer, make it count. Don't just bleed, build. Don't just ache, advance. Don't just cry, create. Take every ounce of pain and turn it into fuel for your vision. When life hits you hard, when it breaks your heart, when it tests your spirit, you've got two choices: surrender or transform. If you surrender, your promise dies with you. If you transform, your promise comes alive through you. Pain is not permanent. It only stays as long as you give it permission. But the power it gives you when you decide to use it, that lasts forever. So the next time you feel pain, instead of saying, this is unfair, say this is preparation. Instead of saying this is too much, say this is building me. Instead of asking, why me? Declare, try me. That shift changes everything because you stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as progress. You stop shrinking from it and start leaning into it. And when you lean into it, you find a version of yourself you didn't even know existed. And here's the part that will set you free. Life you promised yourself isn't waiting for the absence of pain. It's waiting for you to use it. It's not about eliminating struggle. It's about mastering it. It's not about wishing for an easy road. It's about becoming the kind of person who thrives on a difficult one. Because let's face it, an easy life creates weak people. But a meaningful life, the life you truly want, requires strength. That strength is only built when you decide that pain will never be wasted again. So don't run from your pain. Don't deny it. Don't let it define you. Harness it. Let it carve you. Let it mold you. Let it become the very fire that lights your way. Because the moment you stop fearing pain and start transforming it, you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start becoming the architect of your destiny. And when that happens, you look at every wound as wisdom. When you turn every setback into a step forward, when you transform every ounce of pain into fuel, you realize nothing can stop you. Because pain, instead of being your prison, has become your power. One of the hardest truths you'll ever face is this: you don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your environment. You can have the clearest vision, the biggest goals, the strongest promise to yourself. If you surround yourself with people who normalize mediocrity, who settle for less, who talk more than they act, eventually you'll sink into that same standard. Not because you're weak, but because environment is stronger than willpower. If you're not careful, your environment will quietly train you to forget the life you promised yourself. Look at your own life right now. Who do you spend the most time with? Who do you allow to influence your thoughts, your energy, your decisions? Because whether you realize it or not, you're absorbing their standards every single day. If the people around you complain more than they create, you'll start complaining too. If they make excuses for why they're not living fully, begin adopting the same excuses. If their idea of a good life is just getting by, then your dream of living fully, of building something extraordinary, will slowly start to feel unrealistic. You will unconsciously lower your standards to fit in. The opposite is also true. Surround yourself with people who are hungry, people who are committed, people who push themselves every day, and you will feel pulled to level up. Be around people who demand greatness of themselves. Suddenly, greatness feels like the only option. The people you keep closest to you are either anchors or engines. They will either weigh you down or they will lift you higher. And if you're serious about living the life you promised yourself, you've got to make the decision to choose engines over anchors now. Let me be clear. This doesn't mean you stop loving the people in your life who aren't where you are. It doesn't mean you cut off every friend or family member who doesn't understand your vision. What it does mean is you stop letting them set the standard for how you live. You love them, but you don't model your life after them. You care for them. You don't adopt their limits as your own. Because at the end of the day, you are responsible for protecting the promise you made to yourself. And sometimes that means creating distance from anything that threatens to dilute it. You've got to ask yourself, does my circle challenge me or comfort me? Do the people I spend the most time with make me want to rise, or do they make me feel okay with settling? Because the truth is, comfort is seductive. It feels good to be around people who never call you out, who never demand more from you, who let you stay exactly as you are. But comfort is the enemy of growth. You don't need a circle that keeps you comfortable. You need a circle that keeps you accountable. You need people in your life who remind you when you're slipping, who won't accept your excuses, who look you in the eye and say, you're capable of more and I won't let you forget it. Think of it like training. If you want to get stronger, you don't lift weights that are easy for you. You put yourself under resistance that stretches you. The same goes for your environment. Everyone around you is playing small, you will stay small. But if you're in a room where people are thinking bigger, doing more, demanding more, you will naturally rise to meet that standard. And here's the key. Even if you feel like the weakest in the room, that's exactly where you need to be. Because being the weakest in a room of giants will make you grow, while being the strongest in a room of the small will make you shrink. Sometimes the hardest part of chasing your dream isn't the work. It's the loneliness. It's realizing that not everyone you love is going to come with you. Not everyone will understand why you're sacrificing, why you're obsessed. You refuse to settle. And if you need everyone's approval, you'll sabotage your own destiny. You have to decide whose voice matters more, the voice of your critics and doubters, or the voice of the promise you made to yourself. Because the life you promised yourself doesn't belong to them. It belongs to you. And you will never reach it if you're more concerned about fitting in than about leveling up. Here's the powerful part. When you raise your standards and surround yourself with the right people, you don't just change your own life, you give permission to others to rise too. Your courage becomes contagious. Your discipline inspires discipline. Your hunger wakes up the hunger in others. You become the standard, and instead of adapting downward, you lift others upward. That's how movements are born. That's how legacies are built. So take a hard look at your environment. Ask yourself, do I need to spend more time with? Who is living the way I want to live, thinking the way I want to think, achieving the way I want to achieve? How do I get around them, learn from them, let their energy shape mine? And just as importantly, do I need to limit my time with? Whose negativity, excuses, and low standards are poisoning my promise? It's not about judging them. It's about protecting your future. And don't just think about people. Think about the environments you put yourself in daily. The shows you watch, the content you consume, the places you spend your time, all of these are shaping you whether you like it or not. You can't binge negativity and expect to think positively. You can't scroll away your hours and expect to live with focus. You can't surround yourself with mediocrity and expect to achieve greatness. Your environment is always training you. It's either training you to rise or training you to quit. Let me tell you this, the life you promised yourself requires an environment that demands the best version of you. Not sometimes, not when it's convenient, but every single day. If you want to live at a high level, you have to raise the standard of what you tolerate around you. Stop tolerating negativity. Stop tolerating excuses. Stop tolerating conversations that drain your energy instead of fueling your vision. Set a new bar. Then demand that everything and everyone around you meets it, because once you do, something powerful happens. You no longer have to push yourself as hard because your environment pulls you forward. You no longer have to rely on discipline alone because momentum builds naturally. You wake up every day knowing you're in a space where growth is the default, not the exception. And in that kind of environment, living the life you promised yourself stops being a struggle. It becomes inevitable. So make the decision. Surround yourself with standards, not comfort. The life you promised yourself isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's not the product of a single breakthrough or a single opportunity or a single act of courage. It's the accumulation of choices, the stacking of decisions, the small, consistent actions that you repeat day after day. Too many people are waiting for the big moment, the lightning strike, the miracle, the perfect chance that will change everything overnight. But that's not how it works. The truth is, transformation isn't born in the big moments. In the daily alignment, it's born every time you wake up and decide, what I do today will reflect the future I said I wanted. Every morning is a crossroads. You can either drift into another day of habits that betray your vision. You can step intentionally into actions that honor it. And the scary part is, it doesn't feel dramatic when you choose wrong. Skipping the workout doesn't ruin your health in one day. Ignoring your dream project doesn't destroy your destiny in one night. Putting off that call, that meeting, that opportunity doesn't seem like a big deal in the moment. But over time, those small compromises stack up and they shape your reality. You don't lose the life you promised yourself all at once. You lose it in pieces, one tiny choice at a time. But here's the good news, the opposite is just as true. You don't create the life you promised yourself in one day either. You create it in pieces, choice by choice, moment by moment. Every time you choose action over excuse, you're laying a brick. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you're building the foundation. Every time you align your actions with your vision, you're stacking momentum. And when you do it long enough, when you stay consistent, those bricks become walls. Those walls become a structure. Suddenly you're standing inside the life you once only dreamed about. The problem is, most people underestimate the power of daily alignment. They think small choices don't matter. They think they can cheat today and make up for it tomorrow. You can't cheat time. You can't cheat consistency. What you do daily is who you are. If you're waiting for motivation, waiting for inspiration, waiting for the perfect wave to carry you, you're already losing. Motivation fades. Inspiration comes and goes. But discipline is what keeps you aligned when the feeling isn't there. And let me tell you something, your future is not shaped by what you occasionally do. It's shaped by what you consistently do. You can work out hard once in a while, but if you're not consistent, your body won't change. You can grind for a week on your dream project, but if you abandon it for months, it goes nowhere. You can be intentional once in a while. If your daily life doesn't match your vision, you will never live the promise. Consistency beats intensity every single time. But here's what alignment really means. It means you stop living with two different standards. You stop saying you want one thing, but acting in a way that contradicts it. You stop dreaming of abundance while practicing scarcity. You stop promising yourself greatness while tolerating mediocrity in your habits. Alignment is about integrity, making sure your actions, your words, your thoughts, and your goals all live on the same page. And when they don't, you feel it. That's why so many people feel restless and frustrated, not because they're incapable, because they're out of alignment. They know what they want, but they're not living like it. Imagine waking up each morning and asking yourself one simple question: does what I'm about to do today honor the life I promised myself? If the answer is yes, you lean in. If the answer is no, you cut it out. That one filter can change everything because it forces you to measure your choices, not against your feelings, not against convenience, but against your vision. Suddenly, it's not about whether you feel like working out. It's about whether skipping it aligns with the promise you made. It's not about whether you're tired. It's about whether resting today honors or betrays your vision. It's not about whether it's easy. It's about whether it's true to who you said you would be. This isn't about perfection. It's about direction. There will be days you stumble, days you slip, days you don't get it all right. Alignment isn't about never falling. It's about catching yourself faster. It's about noticing when you're drifting and pulling yourself back on course. It's about having the awareness to say, this isn't who I promised myself I'd be, and then realigning right now, not someday, because the longer you stay misaligned, the heavier it becomes. The longer you betray the promise, the harder it feels to return. But the moment you realign, the moment you take even the smallest action in the right direction, you reconnect to your power. And let me tell you this, alignment compounds. The more you align, the easier it becomes. When your actions start reflecting your vision, your confidence grows. Your confidence grows, your belief strengthens. When your belief strengthens, your momentum accelerates. And momentum is magic. Momentum makes you unstoppable because once you're in motion, it's harder to stop than it is to keep going. Momentum only shows up for people who stay aligned long enough to build it. So the real question is, are your daily choices reflecting the life you promised yourself, or are they betraying it? Are you living like the person you said you would be? Are you settling for less? Because the truth is, every day you're either moving closer to your vision or further away. There is no standing still. Time doesn't pause while you figure it out. Life doesn't wait until you're ready. Either aligning or drifting, building or eroding, honoring or betraying. The life you want is built brick by brick, and every day you're laying something. The only question is whether what you're laying is building the future you promised, burying it. And once you understand that, you stop wasting days. You stop thinking you can drift today and catch up tomorrow. You stop treating your vision as a someday thing and start treating it as a now responsibility. And here's the beautiful part. You live aligned, you feel it. You feel alive, you feel clear. You wake up knowing your actions matter because they're connected to something bigger. That's why misalignment feels so painful. It's your soul reminding you that you're off track. The moment you realign, the pain lifts, the energy returns, the fire reignites. Because you're no longer divided. You're no longer saying one thing and doing another. You're whole, and when you're whole, you're powerful. So stop waiting for the big break. Stop waiting for the miracle. The miracle is in your daily alignment. It's in the choice you make when no one's watching. It's in the decision to honor your promise, not once in a while, but every single day. Because the life you promised yourself isn't waiting for someday, it's waiting for you today. There comes a point in this journey where you have to decide that no matter what happens, you will not abandon yourself again. Because if you look closely, that's what breaking your own promise really is. It's self-abandonment. It's turning your back on your own vision, your own calling, your own potential. And the truth is, nothing outside of you can hurt as deeply as that betrayal inside. People can disappoint you, circumstances can hit you, life can test you, but the deepest pain you'll ever feel is knowing you gave up on yourself. That's the one that keeps you awake at night, the emptiness you can't shake, the heaviness that follows you everywhere. But you don't have to keep living that way. You don't have to carry the weight of broken promises anymore. At any moment, you can decide, this is it. From this day forward, I will not betray myself again. I will not let fear dictate my future. I will not let doubt silence my voice. I will not let comfort trap me in a life I never wanted. Because the life I promised myself is still there, waiting, and it's worth fighting for. Make no mistake, it will be a fight. Every promise worth keeping requires struggle. The world won't hand you the life you want wrapped in a ribbon. It's going to challenge you. It's going to test your resolve. It's going to push you to see if you're serious or if you're still just wishing. But here's the truth. The struggle isn't punishment, it's preparation. The obstacles you face aren't there to block you. They're there to shape you. They are carving you into the person who can actually handle the life you promised yourself. Think about it. If your vision came without resistance, you wouldn't grow into it. You wouldn't become strong enough, disciplined enough, resilient enough to sustain it. The fight is what transforms you. Every time you push through fear, you build courage. Every time you endure pain, you build resilience. Every time you rise after a setback, you build strength. These aren't punishments, they're gifts. They're the very things that make you into the person who can hold the life you once only dreamed about. So instead of seeing the struggle as something unfair, start seeing it as evidence that you're on the path. If it's hard, it means you're moving in the right direction. If it's uncomfortable, it means you're growing. If it scares you, it means it matters. That's the price of the promise. You don't get to live the life you once imagined without paying for it in courage, effort, and perseverance. But isn't that better than paying the price of regret? Isn't that better than waking up years from now knowing you betrayed yourself for comfort? The truth is, the life you promised yourself isn't for the weak, it's for the relentless. It's for the one who refuses to give up when it's hard. It's for the one who chooses to keep going when quitting would be easier. It's for the one who understands that pain is temporary but regret is forever. And when you lock that into your heart, when you make the decision that nothing will stop you, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. And let me tell you something powerful. You don't have to get it all right at once. You don't have to have every step figured out. You just need to decide that no matter how long it takes, no matter how messy it gets, no matter how many times you stumble, you will not quit. You will not abandon the life you promised yourself because that life is the only one that will truly fulfill you. Every day you fight for it, you grow into it. And here's the beautiful thing. When you fight for your promise, you don't just change your life, you change the lives of everyone around you because people are watching. Your family, your friends, your children, your colleagues, they see you. They see whether you're living aligned or settling. They see whether you're keeping your promise or breaking it. And when they see you fight for your vision, when they see you rise from setbacks, they see you refuse to give up, it gives them permission to do the same. You don't just reclaim your life, you inspire others to reclaim theirs. And that's what makes this bigger than just you. The life you promised yourself isn't just for your own joy and fulfillment, it's for the ripple effect it creates. When you become who you were meant to be, you give others a model, a light, a reminder that it's possible. Isn't that what we all want? To know our lives mattered, to know we didn't waste the gift we were given, to know that by keeping our own promise, we helped others keep theirs. It all comes down to this one decision. Will you fight for the life you promised yourself, or will you let it slip away? Will you face the pain of growth or the pain of regret? Because one way or another, you're going to feel pain. There's no escaping it. The only choice you get to make is whether the pain leads to progress or to regret. And I don't know about you, but if I have to feel pain, either way, I'll choose the one that makes me stronger. Choose the one that takes me closer to the vision I saw for my life. I'll choose the one that makes me proud when I look back. So let me ask you right now, what's it going to be? Are you willing to stop betraying yourself? You willing to fight for what you said you wanted? Are you willing to finally step into the life that has been calling you all along? Because no one can make that decision for you. No one can live your vision but you. No one can fight your fight but you. It's your life, your promise, your responsibility. And the moment you take that responsibility fully, the moment you stop waiting for someone else to rescue you, the moment you decide that you will no longer quit on yourself, that's the moment everything changes. Because from that point on, no matter what life throws at you, you know one thing for certain, you will not abandon yourself again. Because the life you promised yourself is worth every struggle, every sacrifice, and every fight you have to face.